Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. And in this video I'm going to share the interview questions which are asked in BIRLASOFT in the one of the recent interview, and it was shared by one of our subscriber. Big thank you to him. And in this video I am going to share like very latest questions which will be helpful for you. So if you are applying with the experience like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, it will be very helpful video for you. So the video level is easy to medium, and in this video we will discuss many questions like collection, design patterns, spring boot, sql and all. So make sure you watch this video till the very end. Consider subscribing this channel and my other channel as well. Okay, so I will start the question one by one. So the first question we have is, can you please introduce yourself? So I think I have made a dedicated video on how to introduce yourself. Okay, and if you haven't seen that video, please go to my channel and watch that video again. You will get an idea how you can introduce yourself. So in the introduction you have to tell everything. So if you are having experienced candidate, then you need to tell how much experience you are having, what is the tech stack you are using, in which domain you have worked, are you using agile or any other methodology, and what is your role in your project, what type of project you are doing, in which company you are working currently. So all the things in the step by step manner you have to tell. Okay, so if I go to the next question, which is what is your role in your project. So to explain the role of your role in your project, in your current project, first you need to tell what type of project it is, what type of what is the domain of your project. Then you need to tell in which like particular module you are working in your project. Okay, in which part. So suppose it's a spring boot project, or it's a like microservice project, but there are multiple microservices which are spring boot application. So you need to tell on which applications you are working currently. Okay, and which technology, which frameworks you are using currently in your project, and how you are writing the test cases, how you are writing your spring classes and all, how they are communicating with each other, what type of security mechanism, what type of technology or dependencies you are using. So everything you have in your mind about your project, write down it, read about it, and when you tell your answer it should be perfect. Okay, so if I move to the next question, which is, what is the technologies you have learned in your project. So you can answer this question by telling whatever technologies you have learned in your project, but don't lie, because what happens if you lie and tell a fancy technology, a name of any fancy technology, what happens, interviewer may ask any question about that technology. Okay, and you will, chances are you will be not able to answer that. So instead of that, just tell whatever technologies you are familiar with or you are actually learned. Or if you haven't learned any new technology in your project, just tell them that in whatever you have learned till now, pick any technology from that past and tell that. Okay, this will save you. Okay, the next question we have is, what is the REST controller in Spring Boot application? So if I talk about Spring controller and REST controller, these are REST controller is used to create REST application, and if I talk about controller is used to mark classes as Spring Boot controllers, MVC controllers, and REST controller is very specific controller. It's a special controller which is used for just for the RESTful web services. So it's kind of a combination of controller and response body annotation. So if you are using just controller and you want to use it in RESTful web services, then you have to use controller as well as response body annotation. And if you don't want to use these two annotation, you can use a stereotype annotation which is REST controller annotation. So this is the main difference between these two, and this is very easy question. So I'm sure my audience are so smart, they know the answer for this question. Okay, and the next question is, what is coupling and cohesion? What is coupling and cohesion? So if I talk about coupling is used to describe the relationship between modules. Okay, and cohesion describes the relationship within them. So if we talk about separate modules, the relationship between separate modules is coupling. Two modules are coupled with each other, so that is coupling. And cohesion is, if you have a single module, the relation within that module is cohesion. So it may be confusing for this moment, but if you read about it like in detail, like you will understand what is cohesion and what is coupling. It's very easy actually. When you give enough time to it, you will understand. And it's kind of a okay. So next, move to the next question, which is, what is dependency injection? What is dependency injection? So if you talk about spring I uh, spring boot application or spring boot application in general, what happen? Spring boot so dependency injection means, suppose you have in your spring application you have multiple objects, and these objects are dependent with each other. So what you will do, instead of creating the object by yourself, you give this object creation job to a third party, and that third party is your spring container. So spring container will create objects for you, and you can inject those objects in your spring application. So this is kind of a dependency injection in layman term. But if you want to more dig deeper into dependency injection and understand more about it, you can refer some of the videos on the internet, on the YouTube. There are very good channel called Telescope, you can refer that. It's very understandable. So we will move to the next question in this scenario. And the next question is, what do you mean by distributed transaction? So distributed transaction is a transaction which are like uh, uh, spread on multiple databases. Okay, multiple databases server. So it comes under when we talk about microservices. Now microservices, chances are you have to handle the distributed transactions, because one microservice is updating something, at the same time other microservice updating something, and from that microservice you are calling some other microservice, and that is also updating the database. So both the calls should be in the transactional manner. So for that as well, you use a saga design pattern to maintain the distributed transaction in microservices. So here it is asked just for distributed transaction. So if you answer it correctly, chances are interviewer may ask something about microservices and distributed transaction in microservices. So that's why I told you what is distributed transaction and how you can handle it. Okay, so now we will jump to the next question, which is, what is continuous monitoring? So continuous monitoring comes under DevOps. So continuous monitoring is important because it makes sure that your website doesn't have any issues. Okay, so if you there are multiple tools available which are used to monitor your application. Okay, so there are like Google Analytics and Webmaster Tools. These are the tools which are used to monitor the website performance. So that's why continuous monitoring is very important. And if you don't monitor your application, chances are it may fail in future and you will face a lot of problems. So that's why continuous monitoring is very important, because it maximizes the possibility of detecting any lapse of in quality, or any errors or anything, any bugs or anything. So that's why you are monitoring your application in continuous manner. That is continuous monitoring. So the next question we have is, what is session factory? So this topic comes under Hibernate. Okay, so session factory is basically an interface which is present in Hibernate orm.hibernate package, and it is used to create session object. It's a factory which is creating a session object. So internally it is using factory method design pattern, and it is a kind of a immutable and thread safe in nature. Okay, so like it's a very simple question, and I know that you must know the answer for this. So we will move to the next question now, which is what is lazy loading in Hibernate? What is lazy loading? So when you talk about Hibernate, you are accessing data from the databases, and it can be done lazily or eagerly. Okay, so there are two type of loading. One is lazy loading and one is eager loading. So lazy loading is something which allows you to delay the joins of any foreign key mapped into an object. Okay, so I will give you an example, and then I will tell you how it works. So suppose you have employee object, and inside that employee object you have address. Address is another object which has parameter like city and all other details, everything. So what you can do, when you fetch values uh, for employee data, and by default it is lazy, so only employee details will be loaded, not the address details, because address is another object which is available in some other table. So it is not necessary that it will fetch the address detail as well. So this is lazy loading. And if you change the loading, loading type as eager loading, fetch type as eager loading, then what will happen, whenever you are trying to fetch the employee detail, uh, the address detail will be also fetched. So that is kind of eager loading. So that is the difference between eager and lazy loading. And lazy loading is very simple. If you like talk about human behavior, whenever like the psychological or behavior term is, like whenever you are you someone tell you to do something, you won't do it immediately, you do it after some time. So that is kind of a lazy behavior. So this is very related to lazy loading in terms of databases in Hibernate. And now I will go to the next question, which is what is your expectation from your new job? So this is kind of a HR question which has been asked in the technical round, and there are multiple formats available on the internet to answer this question. And you should not give a negative answer to about this question, like salary expectation and everything, because that can be discussed in the HR round. But in the technical round, if someone asks you this question, you just need to tell about the technology you want to learn, the skill you want to understand and learn the new skill. Then comes various other things like the domain in which you want to work, everything, and the work culture you want to have in your new company. So all the positive things you need to tell, not the negative one, because it will give a bad impression, and interviewer will think that you are just switching for a money. So of course you may switch, you may, or most of the time you are switching for the money only, but don't need to tell at the technical round. uh, okay, so the next question is, what do you mean by ORM? So ORM is basically object relational mapping. It's a technique in Java which is used to relate the object and models. Okay, so what is models? Models are data. So when you talk about models, it's a data or databases. So you are kind of relating the objects and model. Objects are if we talk about objects, objects are used in Java and models are in databases. You are connecting Java and databases together. So there are various ORM tools which are available, like Hibernate is there, I think MyBetis is there, something like that. So there are various other benefit of having a ORM tools, you can kind of persist the data. You can persist the data in your kind of persist the data in what you call this database. So what is persistent and what is persisting of the data, you will read about it and you will get to know that it's very easy. So if you talk about JPA repositories and all, these are part of Spring Data. These are also supports ORM. Okay, So I'm sure you got the idea what is ORM and all about. So before going to the next question, I will just quickly tell you that our platinum membership is open. If you want to join that, you can join that. You will get various benefit like early access of all these videos, and also I have a Hindi channel as well where I talk about Java career and a lot of other things. So if you understand Hindi, consider subscribing that as well. So now I will go to the next question, which is a very easy question and which is a core Java question. That is, what is method overriding and method overloading? So it's a part of polymorphism. Polymorphism is something which is one thing is showing multiple features. Okay, so if I talk about overloading, it happens within a class. So in that you have to have same name of method and different type of argument on those method. So whichever method you want to call, just change the argument number. So that is method overloading, and it's a compile time polymorphism because it is happening in the same class and at the compile time. Okay, the other thing is method overriding. So method overriding is another type of polymorphism which is runtime polymorphism. Okay, and in that case what happens, it will happen in the superclass and subclass. So in subclass you will override the existing method which is available in the superclass, and this will be the same name and same number of argument and everything will be same. Return type is also same. So what happens in that case, method writing will happen at the runtime. So that's why it is called runtime polymorphism. Okay, so that is the main difference between method overloading and method overriding, and I'm sure it's a very easy question, so you must know this answer of this question. Okay, the next question is, what is multi-threading? Multi-threading is a it's a phenomena where you are dealing with multiple threads. Multiple threads are accessing the resource and doing your job very fast. So what is the benefit of having multi-threaded environment? In the case of multi-threads are working on your task, so that the speed of your task is very fast. But there are slight disadvantages as well, and to overcome those disadvantages we have certain ways to use multi-threading in a proper way, like synchronized block methods and using some keywords as well. I will explain in my upcoming videos, and you can refer the internet as well for those. So the next question we have is, what is the difference between error and exception? What is the difference between error and exception? So if I talk about error, error is something which whenever error happens, so first of all, both are the subclass. If I talk about in Java term, both are subclasses of throwable class. Okay, in the case of error, error happens when you can't recover the error. If error happens, you can't recover it. But in the case of exception, you can kind of catch the exception or can be recovered from that exception. Okay, so this is the main difference between error and exception in terms of Java. Okay, so exception is kind of recoverable, but error is not recoverable, irrecoverable. The example of error is out of memory error, and the example of exception are null pointer exception or SQL exception, something like that. Okay, so that is the main difference, and there will be some part 2 of this video as well, because there are multiple questions available on this topic. So I will just write here part 2, because there will be part 2 of this video, and make sure you watch the other part as well. I think it will be available for the the channel members first, and then later. So to access early access all these questions, please become a member of the channel. The membership is very low, it can be cost less than a cup of coffee for you, and it will be very beneficial, trust me, because when you practice these type of question, if you watch 4 or 5 videos on the platinum membership and practice those questions only, you will see your round are you will see that you are clearing every interview, trust me. So make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel and other channel as well, and thank you so much for your love and support. Peace.